Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Easeldoesitstudio. So today we're doing the power tech. So I pulled out a bunch of stuff, and hopefully I have my angle better so that you'll be able to actually see what I'm doing. So I took a piece of cardboard and then I just taped it. So I kind of went on like where I wanted like some windows and a door. So basically all I did was like cut holes for a door. I'm going to actually like frame the door out with different materials. I'm going to put rocks like around the windows. So that's basically the house. So I took a Pepsi box cube, cut off one of the sides, and this is going to be the roof. So it's gonna, you know, kind of be like that. So those are two of the pieces. Then this is going to be the base. So my little house is gonna sit on here so that I can decorate the bottom with different things. So I need to do the bottom, the top, this, then go in and attach them. So I've got this, I've got some rope, I've got some t-shirt material all cut up. So this is going to have this light. I want it to sit in here, and it comes with a remote. So you can change the color, change the modes, and that's going to go inside the bottom. I do want to build this part up a little bit so that this won't like fall apart. So we're probably going to use some rope in there. So I'll show you those steps when I get to it. But for now, I'm going to set this aside so I don't get it all gross. So I pulled out some brown, some green, and some black power techs. So on the house, I'm going to put pieces of bark. So I just broke bark off from our firewood. And I'm just going to break it in pieces, and we're going to stick it on the house. So I have a box of that behind me. For the roof, I'm going to do the, you know, cover the roof, and then we're going to put this, which is, it just comes in packing. It's like that packing paper. But I figured this would give a really neat, like, texture to the roof, like shingles. So that's what we're going to do on that. Then I've got some sand and some pine cones, some acorns, some little gravel pieces. And I also have, I pulled out my stone art, which this is a powder that you can mix with any of the PowerTex products. And like if you have rocks and you want them to stick, this will help them stick better. So we're gonna definitely use some of this. In fact, I'll maybe use some of this around my base piece. So with that being said, I'm going to start with the base. Then I'm going to do the roof. So that way those can start drying a little bit. So when we get that, the house done, we can get them together. And then we will, I have, you know, some of my, like my little pieces. I got a whole bunch of different things over here that we're going to embellish the house with once we get it all done. So that being said, for the base, I'm going to use the green PowerTex because why not? Grass is green. And then we're going to still color it after, but I just figured you know, trying to use the different colors to show you guys, you know, how that works. So I'm going to flip my camera down. And we are going to get started. I don't know if you can see right here, right down here, is a bowl of hot soapy water. So that is what we have going here. All right, so I am going to put some gloves on because the stuff is sticky. It is non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about that, but it is sticky and messy. So these are the gloves I had used on my last video, so I figured I'd just use them, and then when I change them, I have my other chippy ones here in the background. All right, so I shook them, but I do want to get these stirred just to make sure that everything is incorporated. So, and I'm going to have to do a few more of the doors, the fairy door, the gnome doors. So if anybody wants to see me making those, you know, put it in the comments and I will gladly do a video, maybe even a live with it. Who knows? We're just going to take this and we're just going to wipe it off so that I can use it when I mix my next color. All right, so we're just going to pour some in the bottom here. And I'm not going to need a lot because it's just basically the base, but I am going to do the bottom and the top. So once I get it done, then I will have to go in and figure out, actually, let me see. All right, so I can use one of these jars as my base when we get ready to put my rim around it. Okay, so we're just gonna take any old fabric. This is just an old t-shirt. Actually, it was my favorite t-shirt because it was full of holes. You guys have one of those? Yeah. So I pretty much don't have any more of those. I think this was my last and most favorite one. So I'm just going to squeeze out the bulk of it. You want your fabric completely saturated. And because this is a red shirt, you know, it's going to kind of show through, but that's fine because we're going to color it once it dries. All right, so I'm just going to open it up because you want your fabric completely saturated, not dripping, but, you know, completely wet, because this is a permanent textile hardener. So it hardens, and it's permanent once it hardens. So it allows you to make bigger sculpted things without, you know, being too, I just don't know which way I want to go. I think I'm going to go this way. All right, so I'm just going to wrap this around. And you can actually even put like grooves or whatever in your material to give it texture. I'm just going to start this one out with like a flat layer because I want the bottom to be as flat as possible. So it'll, you know, it'll sit nice and smooth on a dresser or a nightstand or whatever. So I want this back layer, you know, and even though I drew on this, it doesn't matter because we're gonna, so this side can be more bumpy because that's gonna be the top. So I'm just gonna grab get a little bit wider piece. So we're just gonna put that in the Powertex. We're gonna get it all coated. And I do have a discount code if anybody wants to try this. And they do have like small starter packs. I want to get more into this because you really can just use your imagination. And I don't think I've done any Powertex all winter. I don't think. But now we have, you know, spring coming, and I got my craft shows and art walks and stuff coming up. So I need to get a few pieces done. So in order for you to have some content, I figured I would do a video on it. And I know there's a few of you that are interested in it. So, all right, I'm just going to abut these. Now, these ones I don't have to worry about being waterproof because these are going to be an inside piece. So we're just putting that on, and we're just going to smooth this out. And then we'll just pull this on. Now, where I want my house to sit, I also want to make sure that the fabric around that is somewhat smooth. You know, so that it will kind of sit nice on there. All right. Now, I do have plastic down because this stuff does not adhere to plastic. So pretty much glass, brick, rocks, anything else except for plastic. But I have watched a video and I think there's a way around it. So I do want to try that at some point. All right, I'm just looking for like a smaller piece that I can, you know, wrap around the front. And then the bottom of this will be done. Because normally I do everything in black. So that way when you add your colors, you have a nice kind of background shadow color. You know what I mean? So I figured I would just change it up today and see how it comes out using the different colored Powertex. Excuse me. All right, so I might need to add a little bit more here. And if you pour too much, you can always pour the rest back into your container. So it's, you know, it's not like you're gonna waste it. All right, there we go. Just check to make sure both sides are covered. All right, move this out of the way. So I'm just gonna, you know, and my desk is just so big, so I usually take out my little table, but I was just too lazy. I didn't want to do that. And then I would have had to move all kinds of stuff. All right, so we've got our bottom all situated here. So now we can turn it over and start shaping the front. Now this little area here is going to be like the walkway. So I want this to be more textured. You know, just so it will have a little bit of texture. And now I'm just going, I'm trying to move so you can see, I'm just going right over these pieces, and I'm just gonna scrunch it. You know, just so it looks like it's ground cover. All right. And then I want to put a little strip over here as well. Yeah, that might work. Actually, let me cut it. So, and if you use scissors for PowerTex, make sure you keep them designated for PowerTex, because yeah, they will definitely be a mess. All right. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna use the bigger piece. All right, we're just gonna stick this in. All right. Okay, that's coated. So I want this to go right up to the front. And then I'm just scrunching the ends. And I do want to get a flat spot where our house is gonna sit. And then have the rest kind of be textured. Yeah. Okay. So this is the front. These are the sides, and that's the back. And this is where, let's see. Yeah. So that's where my house is gonna sit on there, like that. All right, so I do have a piece of plastic over to the side, and I've got some paper cups, and I'm just going to set this on top of those paper cups. And hang on, I need to grab a couple more. Hang on. I'm trying to not get PowerTex over on everything else that I'm touching here. Because this is wet, it's wanting to kind of swoop down, and I want it to sit flat. There we go. All right. So for the roof, I'm going to use the black. So I'm just going to put black in here. I'm not even going to wipe it out. And now the black I buy in a 5-liter bottle, and then I just refill this. Now I thought about, you know, like starting a piece, stopping the video, but I wanted you guys to see the whole process, because I don't, now I get this all stuck to me here. Hang on, let me just wash my hands real quick. And because I have the textured gloves on, it's like really getting in there. So I might end up switching gloves here in a minute. But let's get our black poured. So for this one, I'm not putting fabric on the inside. I'm just going to coat it with the PowerTex. Now, I haven't done it this way before. I always add fabric, but because this is going to be the inside, I really don't think that I need to. We'll find out. But you just want to get this all nice and covered. Because that, you know, it's going to make that nice and hard inside here. So basically that's, you know, it's giving it that extra structure that it's going to need. And then when we take our fabric and whatever and we tuck it on the inside, we'll already have some PowerTex on the inside. All right. So I do want, to add fabric first. And then we're going to put the texture over it. And some of the, like the black seems to be a little thinner than some of the other colors. So yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, getting your fabric around. And again, you don't have, the thing I like about this is you don't have to be perfect with it. All right, and I got a little bit of red showing there, so we're just tapping that on the inside, and that will help hold it down. All right, and so I try to cut some of my pieces bigger than others because I knew that I had different elements going on. So I just wanted to have some bigger pieces. You can do it all in small pieces if you want. You know, it's just a matter of what you're working on. Personal preference, you know, like there's some red showing there, so we're just gonna open up our fabric so that we can make sure that everything is covered. Now, when I had made, actually I think the last thing that I had made was my Halloween ghost, and one of my ghosts I didn't wet my fabric enough, and I did have an issue with that ghost standing up straight because it wasn't hard enough. So that is very important to make sure your fabric is, you know, definitely wet enough. And because this is cardboard, it gets like flimsy and soft until it hardens. So this will harden up, you know, fairly quick. It won't be completely hard for 2 to 3 weeks. So every day it's going to firm up even more. So just a little tidbit there for you. And I've also found that if you use like a sheet or a pillowcase material, it that looks more like a leather when it's dry. So it was kind of weird how, you know, different fabrics look. All right. So we have enough to cover our whole little roof here. And I'm just gonna stick that string right on there. All right. Now we're gonna wet this. And we're gonna put this on top of the fabric, and then I'm gonna set that over there to start drying. And then we will move on to the house. Now, because this is paper, you know, you can squeeze it and get it all coated. All right. I just figured this would make like a nice roof texture. So we will see. And then I'm just pulling it to the ends, to the edges. And I kind of cut it, you know, as close as I could to it fitting. So I might have to cut a little bit off. But maybe I'll just let some hang out over the edge. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. Scrunch some up. All right, so let's see how this looks. And by having some hanging over is going to give, you know, that extra little whimsical kind of look to it. And, you know, it's going to make it so it's ornate and original. All right. So that's how we have our hat. We're going to let that's going to adhere to that fabric, and then we will get it all highlighted after. All right, so I'm just going to set that there. All right, so we got that drying. So when I put my fabric on this, we're gonna use the brown for this. And I'm just gonna put it in here. There's not much black left in there to worry about. Just kind of wipe that off a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do around the windows is I'm only going to put the power tacks, because this is where we're going to add some fabric, and then we're going to start adding some of the wood pieces. So I'm putting a lot more of the brown in, because I know we're going to cover this and we're going to cover the wood pieces. So, all right, let me just, I'm going to take these because I'm getting my jewelry all covered. So let me just take that off. I just made some new bracelets and I don't want to get them all covered with power tacks. So we're going to just put them aside. So, before I put my my other gloves on here, I'm going to try to pull out some different pieces. Oh, we'll leave that in there. Because I purposely cut some smaller pieces. So that's what I'm just trying to pull them out. You know, I don't mind a few longer ones, but yeah, I mean, this was my t-shirt, guys. I had holes everywhere in there. But now I don't have to worry about, you know, you get something old, I just put it in a pile and we keep it for the Powertex. So it's recycle, recycle, recycle. And these gloves are a little bit bigger and they're smoother, so the Powertex will rub off better on here. All right, let's just start with this little one. You know, and I'm gonna throw a few little pieces in there so they can just start like absorbing some of the Powertex. Because like I said, you don't want it dripping because you do want it to dry. Like the bottom piece is already looking like it's, you know, drying up. All right. So we're just gonna start getting some fabric. And like I said, I'm gonna put stuff around the windows. You know, and then I was thinking, do I just put the Powertex on it and the wood? But I need it to have that firm structure. All right, so I'm going to tuck that underneath. And I don't want these to be completely smooth because I want them to have you know, that little tiny bit of texture underneath. All right, so now we're starting to get a little heavy here. Let's put that there. All right, so I'm gonna take my scissors because I want a little piece for there, and because I don't want to cover my window holes because that's where the light's gonna hopefully shine through. Now, this is the first one that I've ever made that's going to have a light in it. So, all right. So, just putting it on there lightly. Let's use the other piece of that for the top. And this way here, it's going to, even without the bark, it's going to look like there's texture, like a tree texture to it, just by scrunching up, you know, some of the fabric. Because I might not put tree bark everywhere. We'll see as we go here. All right, I gotta get some on the back because I'm kind of lopsided here. And you want to overlap your material just, you know, a little bit so that it can bond to each other to make it a solid piece. And because this is an indoor one, I'm not going to worry too much about the inside. I will end up Powertexing the inside once I get everything done. Just put a layer on the inside. All right, so let's And see how I'm just scrunching that to give it that, because when we color it after is where we're going to start getting, you know, have it come to life, basically. All right, so that piece is pretty wet, so I'm gonna just take a dry piece and squeeze out some of that extra, because it's still coated, but I didn't want it completely sopped. And I'm just squeezing that down. So we need 2 shorter pieces, so let's just cut that. So this video might be a little bit long, I don't know. I mean, what, 36 minutes, and I've got almost all 3 of the base pieces done, so yeah, it won't be too bad. But see how I didn't even like straighten that out? Because it's gonna look like tree bark. And got this piece wet, so we might as well figure a spot for this piece. I mean, I could sit down here for hours just, you know, creating different creations. So now that I have this stuff out, I will probably make another piece tonight. Not a video, I'll just, you know, but because I forgot how much stuff that you gotta, you know, when you're dealing with all your different textured stuff. I'm like, oh man, I got like 3 boxes of stuff. All right. Now what's gonna work good is, get that stuck back down there, is see where these holes are that were in my t-shirt? Those are gonna look like knot holes, guys. I'm hoping. All right, so I have a little piece here and a little bit more on the back. So let's take this piece and we'll put it right here at the top. So like one t-shirt you can get quite a few projects out of. All right, let's just, and you want to make sure that, you know, you're overlapping, especially if you're making something for outdoors, you know, definitely because the newer formulas now are all waterproof. So like I had my gnome door out all last summer and it still is beautiful. I took it in for the winter, but I am getting ready to put it out. So I want to make a few other pieces to go with it. Now this is kind of starting to get heavy laying down because, you know, it's wet, which is fine. All right, we have what? One more little spot there. And I'm gonna just cut. All right. So I want to try to keep that as round as I can. So I'm just double checking that I have everything that I want covered. Okay. So I'm gonna wash my hands. And I just take an old rag and I just keep it in my bucket of water. Then I rinse it out really good and just let it dry, and I just reuse the same rag because I want to mix up, after I have a sip of soda here. All right, I can take my fabric now, put that aside. And so that's what the stone art looks like. And I'm just going to take a little plastic container because I want to get some of my texture around my windows. All right, all right, I'm going to take one glove off so I can grab a stick here, and you just put this in the Polytex and it makes like a clay. So whenever you have anything like heavy that you need, like, because this is like a glue and a hardener. So when you have something heavy that you need to stick, if you make this paste and then you put your stuff on, it sticks really, really good. And it holds it so that they don't like slide down. All right, so I'm gonna put the cover on this and just set that aside. And I'm gonna get, all right, do I want rope or do I, all right, I'm gonna do rope around the windows. So I'm going to cut a, I don't know, like a circle, I guess. And I might as well cut two. All right, hang on here. Let me wet my hands. All right, I'm gonna throw my glove back on. And then we're gonna also stick I don't know, we're gonna maybe try some rocks. I think I'm gonna try some rocks because I wanted the windows and the doors to kind of look like stone. So I'm just putting a little bit on these cross pieces. All right, so I'm going to take some and I'm just going to stick them in. Let's see if it'll just stick with so this is something I haven't tried before. So I figured I would try it with you guys. I just thought it might give a more whimsical look. I might have to do it in sections though, just so that I can kind of keep my house round until this firms up a bit. But I'm just sticking these rocks into that texture stuff that we've got. You know, we can put as many as we want or as little. But see how it's just helping them stay there? All right, so just trying to make sure that my little cross window pieces here have enough stone to make it look, you know, realistic. And we'll just stick that big one there. And I'm just gonna put some more of the clay right there. Hang on here. So I'm trying to pick up the ones that are on the plastic that already have, you know, Polytex on them. All right. So we have one window done. All right, so I'm gonna make some more of that that clay mixture. I'm gonna make a little bit more this time. And we'll start with 3 scoops, and then we'll just stir that in. And I also have something else too, which I haven't used, but you can mix that with this too. I should have pulled it out. It's called Stone Art. I think I made my first batch a little bit drier than it should have been, so we'll keep this a little bit wetter. There we go. So it just makes like a thick paste. And we're just going to put it around our little window. So that's why I didn't worry about too much fabric, because I figured I could just fill it in with this stone mixture. All right. And I'm just gonna start pressing them on. So instead of covering them in Polytex, this way here we can leave them more natural looking. You know, that way we'll have some light ones, some dark ones, some red ones. Some bigger ones. You just want to make sure that they are pushed into the texture stuff really good. And it's hard when you you know, like I could have let this completely harden and dry and then did the windows, which, you know, once it dries, if I feel like it needs anything else, I'll just add some. But you definitely need the you know, the paste if you want them to stick. And I think, you know, once we start texturing our building with color, I think these will stand out even more. You know, it's kind of like you're making a patio here. Trying to get your little rocks to stick. All right, so we've got our 2 little windows done. See, it's already starting to stiffen up a little bit. All right, so you know what? I got it upside down, guys. I'm like, why is my door so high? Okay. So now, oh, that's going to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to stick my rope in the Power-Tex, and I'm just going to coat it. All right. I'm gonna try to take this paste. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. So I've got my rope, and I'm just going to try to lay some of this paste on the rope where it's going to stick to the building, just to give it that extra little something to help hold it in place. Because I don't know if any of you did see my fairy door one where I used like pre-made doors, which, you know, you can definitely do. You can make little ceramic ones or whatever. But I figured on this one I would try and you know, just kind of make my own little my own little structures. And that's how we have our little door. Now, I do want to put something around the window in here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a smaller rope, but we need a handle, right? So I'm going to use a rock. So I'm going to put some of that texture powder and we just put a little door handle. Okay. So I'm going to move this over here for now. And all right, now I'm going to set this aside for a few minutes, and we are going to get my cups off because I want to make my piece where my light is gonna go. Now, I said this, so I don't know if I'm going to attach the base to the building just so that we can, I was supposed to cut a hole out of the back, but oh well, it's neither here nor there right now. Let's just, I want to get a spot so that I know that the just something to kind of hold the light in a central area. All right. Let's see. And I'm just going to pour just a smidge of brown. Just so our rope is completely wet. I'm just taking just whatever I can scoop out, just to put a few areas to kind of help tack that down. All right, I'm gonna take my gloves off. Get my light. Yeah, so that will fit. All right, so I'm done with the rope for now. All right, let me get some bark out. All right, just gonna set this back over here and let that finish hardening up a little bit. All right. So I'm going to try a few pieces of bark. If it doesn't work, then I probably won't add a ton of bark. So let me get some a little bit smaller pieces here. All right, just So maybe even not a lot. Just a little bit skinnier pieces. All right. So let me put my gloves on. And I'll go back in with the brown. And I'm just coating these in the Powertex. That might need a little bit of, just because it's too arched. Just so it gives a little bit more texture around that front is kind of what I'm going for. All right, we are going to definitely mix up some more of the powder here. And let me grab my other one here. Oh, this is called Power Smooth. That's what it is. It just gives a little bit extra security. Whoa. All right, we got more than enough here. I'll just add some more brown. I mean, the pieces are staying pretty good, but I don't want them, I don't want any chance of them falling off. All right, that's good. Especially on, you know, like these that are kind of bowed out a little bit. It'll just kind of give it a little something extra to hold it up there. So I'm just kind of like you're buttering a piece of bread, but you know, not as perfect. All right. Oops. And I'm just wetting that powder just to kind of fill it in. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna put that way. And we'll put one more there. And I think that should do it for that. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is wait to see when this hardens, if I can cut a hole in the back. There we go. And then I can always add more. But while I have this out, I want to get my roof piece on. So I am going to get some blobs on my top, since I've already got this out and mixed. Oh, move it over here a little closer so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just putting like a little ridge on the top. All right. So let me turn this around so I know where my front is. All right, so that is my front. And there we go. All right. So I'm going to let this sit, and I'm going to give it probably an hour just to finish getting dry and tacky. And then I'm going to come back and then we'll figure out, we'll attach the bottom to it. I don't want to do it right now because I need to get a way of getting the light in there. And then we still have to do, and actually, let me get my smaller rope and do that right now while I still have my stuff out. I have another spool. So I think those are about the same size. All right, I think I'm gonna use this smaller twine. All right, so we're gonna go, and I wanna double it. Stick the rope in. All right. All right, stick that door back on, and I'm gonna cut these in half. All right, so these need a little bit of the slurry, as we will call it. Yeah, I should have put my other glove on. There we go. All right. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, and then we will come back and we will kind of put this together and hopefully be able to light her up and see what we've got. All right, I'm just trying to clean my arms here. I don't want to get PowerTex all over everything if I can help it. All right. That way I'll at least be clean enough to get upstairs and wash my hands properly. And all right, so we're gonna let this sit and then we will be back and we will start bringing this to life, guys. Okay, guys, so I decided I'm going to end this video and then on the finish, I'm gonna finish it up and I'm gonna make a part 2. So make sure you go and watch the next video after this one. That way there you'll see the finished product. Because I was like, I looked and I'm like, oh crap, we're at an hour and 20 minutes. So I'm gonna end this video and then I'm gonna continue and that will be the next video. So you will get to see the finished, how I finish it and all that. So stay tuned for that, guys. All right, bye.